Captain Nari stood on the bridge of her ship, looking out at the endless stars. The Eternal Horizon was the best ship humans had ever built. It was fast, strong, and full of smart people who wanted to explore the unknown parts of space. "Captain," called Tae-min from his station. He was the ship's chief engineer, a man who could fix anything that broke. "We're getting close to the Kepler 442 system." "The readings are getting stronger," Nari nodded. They had been traveling for 3 months to reach this place. Earth's deep space sensors had picked up something strange here. Something that didn't make sense. "What kind of readings?" she asked. So Young looked up from her computer. She was the ship's expert on alien life forms. Her job was to study any strange creatures they might find. "The energy pattern is unlike anything we've seen before. It's too organized to be natural, but too alive to be a machine." Jun-ho, their tactical officer, frowned. He was responsible for keeping the ship safe. Could it be a weapon? "I don't think so," So Young said. "It's more like ... beat. But huge, really huge." Nari walked to the main viewing screen. The Kepler 442 system had one big star and several planets. But their target was the gas giant, a massive planet made mostly of thick, heavy gases. "Show me the readings," she said. The screen changed to show a 3-dimensional map. Deep inside the gas giant's atmosphere, something big was moving. The computer said it was at least 5 kilometers long. That was bigger than their entire ship. "How deep is it?" Nari asked. "About 2,000 kilometers down," Tae-min said. "The pressure there would crush our ship in seconds. But whatever this thing is, it's swimming around like the pressure doesn't bother it at all." Nari had been exploring space for 15 years. She had seen many strange things, but this was different. This felt important. "Can we get closer?" she asked. "We can stay in the upper atmosphere," Jin-ho said. "But we can't go too deep. The ship wasn't built for that kind of pressure." "Do it," Nari said, "but slowly. I want to know what we're dealing with." The Eternal Horizon moved toward the gas giant. As they got closer, the readings became clearer. The thing wasn't just big, it was massive. And it was definitely alive. "Captain," So Young said, her voice full of wonder. "Look at this." She put her readings on the main screen. The energy pattern looked like a heartbeat, but it was beautiful. It pulsed with colors that seemed to shift and change. It reminded Nari of the northern lights on Earth, but much more complex. "It's beautiful," she whispered, "and powerful," Jun-ho added. "The energy output is incredible. If this thing wanted to hurt us, it could destroy our ship without even trying." Nari studied the readings. Something about them felt familiar, but she couldn't figure out what. "Tae-min, can you enhance the visual sensors?" she asked. "I'll try," he said. His fingers moved quickly over his controls. "The atmosphere is thick, but I might be able to get something." The screen flickered, then showed a fuzzy image. At first it was just clouds and gas, then something moved. "There." So Young pointed. "Did you see that?" Tae-min worked to clear the image. Slowly a shape began to form. It was long and curved, moving through the gas like a snake through water. But it was huge, bigger than anything they had ever seen. "What is that?" Jun-ho asked. "I'm not sure," Nari said. "But it's not natural. Look at the way it moves. It's too controlled, too purposeful." The creature moved deeper into the atmosphere, and they lost sight of it. But the energy readings continued to pulse steadily. "Captain," Tae-min said, "there's something else. The readings show there's a structure down there, something the creature is near." "What kind of structure?" "I don't know. It's big, maybe 10 kilometers across, and it's not made of anything we recognize." Nari made a decision. "We're going to investigate. But carefully, I want us ready to leave quickly if we need to." "Yes, ma'am," her crew said together. As they moved closer to the gas giant, the energy readings grew stronger. The creature seemed to notice them, too. It started moving toward the upper atmosphere, toward them. "It's coming up," Jun-ho said. "Should we retreat?" Nari watched the readings. The creature was moving fast, but not in an aggressive way. It seemed curious. "Hold position," she said. "Let's see what it wants." Minutes passed. The crew was quiet, watching their instruments. Then, something appeared on the visual screen that made them all gasp. Rising from the deep atmosphere was something that looked like a dragon from old Earth stories. But this dragon was made of what looked like crystal and starlight. Its scales shimmered with colors that hurt to look at directly. Its eyes glowed like small suns. "My God," So Young whispered. The dragon was beautiful and terrifying at the same time. It was easily the size of a city, but it moved with grace and intelligence. As it rose through the atmosphere, it seemed to be looking directly at their ship. "It sees us," Nari said. The dragon stopped moving upward. It hung in the thick atmosphere, watching them. Then, very slowly, it began to sing. The song came through their ship's hull, not as sound, but as something deeper. It was sad and beautiful. And lonely. It made Nari's heart ache in a way she didn't understand. "Captain," Taemin said, his voice shaking. "That's not just a creature, that's intelligence. Real intelligence." Nari nodded. She knew he was right. They weren't just looking at an alien animal. They were looking at something that could think and feel. Something that had been alone for a very long time. "So Young," she said, "start working on a way to communicate with it. Whatever this thing is, it's trying to tell us something." The dragon song continued, echoing through their ship like a prayer or a warning. Nari had the feeling that this moment would change everything. They had come looking for an anomaly, but they had found something much more important. They had found a guardian. The cosmic dragon's song filled the ship like a memory of home. Nari felt tears in her eyes, but she didn't know why. The sound was beautiful and sad at the same time. "Captain," Junho said quietly, "what should we do?" Nari watched the massive creature floating in the thick atmosphere below them. Its crystal scales caught the light from the distant star and threw it back in rainbow patterns. Each scale was as big as a building. "We wait," she said, "and we listen." The dragon moved slowly, gracefully. It was so big that Nari had trouble understanding its size. But despite being huge, it moved like a dancer. Every motion was careful and purposeful. "So Young," Nari said, "can you record the song? Maybe we can learn something from it." "Already doing it," So Young replied. Her hands moved quickly over her controls. "Captain, this is incredible. The song has patterns. It's not just noise, it's like language." Taemin looked up from his station. "The energy readings are changing. The creature is doing something." On the screen, the dragon began to move. But instead of coming toward them, it moved sideways. It positioned itself in front of something that Nari couldn't see clearly. "What's it doing?" she asked. I think it's protecting something," So Young said. "Look at the way it's positioned. It's like a guard." Nari studied the dragon's behavior. So Young was right. The creature wasn't threatening them. It was blocking their path to something else. "Tae-Min, can you scan past the creature?" "What's behind it?" Taemin worked on his controls. "The creature is too big and too bright. It's blocking most of my scans. But I can see something. There's a hole in space behind it." "A hole?" "Not exactly a hole. More like a doorway. But it's not made of anything solid. It's made of twisted space and time." Nari felt a chill run down her spine. "A passage?" "That's what it looks like. And Captain there's something on the other side." The dragon's song grew louder. It was still beautiful, but now Nari could hear something else in it. Fear. The creature was afraid. "It's not afraid of us," So Young said, as if reading her thoughts. "It's afraid for us. It's trying to warn us about something." Junho checked his weapon systems. "Maybe we should be ready to fight." "No," Nari said firmly. "This creature could have attacked us already if it wanted to. It's trying to tell us something. We need to understand what." The dragon moved closer to the passage behind it. As it did, Nari could see the opening more clearly. It was like looking through water, but the water was made of stars and light. Things moved on the other side, but she couldn't tell what they were. "Captain," Taemin said, "I'm getting some readings from the passage. There's water on the other side, a lot of water." "Water in space?" Junho asked. "Not normal water, this is different. The readings are strange. It's like the water is ... old, really old." The dragon's song changed again. Now it sounded like crying. The massive creature was mourning something. "It's sad," So Young whispered. "Whatever is on the other side of that passage, it makes the dragon sad." Nari made a decision. "I'm going to try to talk to it." "Captain, we don't know if that's safe." Junho said, "Nothing about this is safe," Nari replied. "But that creature is intelligent. It's trying to communicate with us. We need to try to understand." She walked to the communication station. "Open a channel." "All frequencies." "Channel open," Taemin said. Nari took a deep breath. "Hello," she said simply. "We are humans. We come. In peace, we want to understand." The dragon's song stopped. For a moment there was complete silence. Then, slowly, the creature turned toward their ship. Its eyes were like small suns, burning with ancient light. When it looked at them, Nari felt like it was looking into her soul. The dragon was old. Older than anything she had ever imagined. The creature began to sing again, but this time it was different. The song was directed at them, meant for them. It was trying to tell them something specific. "So Young, are you getting this?" Nari asked. "Yes, Captain." "The patterns are more complex now." "It's definitely trying to communicate. But it's not just words, it's showing us things." Images began to form in Nari's mind. She saw stars being born and dying. She saw worlds covered in crystal cities. She saw other creatures like the dragon, but smaller, flying through space like birds. "Are you seeing this?" she asked her crew. "Yes," they all said at once. The images continued. Nari saw a great war. She saw the crystal cities burning. She saw the dragon's people fighting against something dark and terrible. And she saw them losing. "It's showing us its history," So Young said. "Its people were destroyed in a war." The dragon's song became sadder. It showed them more images. The last of its people, dying to protect something precious. The dragon itself, alone, taking on the duty of guarding the passage. "How long?" Nari asked the creature. "How long have you been alone?" The dragon's answer came not in words but in feeling. "Thousands of years, maybe tens of thousands." The creature had been guarding this passage for longer than human civilization had existed. "What are you guarding?" Nari asked. The dragon turned toward the passage. Through the star water, Nari could see shapes moving. They looked like buildings, but they were underwater. An entire city, maybe an entire world, drowned and lost. "There's a civilization down there," Taemin said, "under the water." The dragon's song confirmed it. The passage led to a flooded realm, where something precious was kept. Something that the dragon's people had died to protect. "But why show us this?" Nari asked. "Why trust us with this knowledge?" The dragon looked at her again with those burning eyes. In her mind she heard something. Like words. Not human words, but meaning that she could understand, because you came with curiosity, not conquest. Because you listened instead of attacking. Because you might be the ones we have been waiting for. Waiting for what? Nari asked, the dragons. Elsa made her heart skip a beat. To finish what we started. To drain the passage and restore what was lost. To become the new guardians. Nari looked at her crew. They had come here looking for an anomaly. Instead, they had found a cosmic guardian who had been waiting for eons for someone worthy to take on an ancient responsibility. The dragon's song grew hopeful for the first time. It was no longer alone. After thousands of years, it had found someone who might understand the weight of its duty, but Nari knew this was just the beginning. The real test was yet to come. For 3 days, the crew of the Eternal Horizon worked to understand the dragon's message. So Young spent hours listening to the creature's song, trying to translate its meaning. Taemin studied the strange passage and the energy readings that came from it. "I think I'm starting to understand," So Young said during a meeting in the ship's conference room. The dragon isn't just guarding something, it's mourning something. Nari leaned forward. What do you mean? The songs it sings, They're not just communication, they're like funeral songs? Songs for the dead. Junho frowned. But what's dead? The dragon is alive. It's people, So Young said sadly. The dragon is the last of its kind. It's been singing funeral songs for thousands of years. Taemin looked up from his tablet. I've been analyzing the passage. It's not just a doorway to another place. It's a doorway to another dimension. A pocket of space that exists separately from our universe. What's in there? Nari asked. Water, but not normal water. Captain, I think the water is made of time itself. The room fell silent. Nari stared at Taemin. Time? The readings are unlike anything we've ever seen. The water moves, but it moves slowly. Too slowly, like time is thick and heavy there. So Young's eyes widened. That's why the dragon is so sad. Whatever is in that water, it's trapped in time. Nari stood up and walked to the window. Outside, she could see the dragon floating in the gas giant's atmosphere. It was singing again, the same sad song it had been singing for days. We need to understand more, she said. Taemin, can you scan deeper into the passage? I can try, but the dragon might not like it. It's been very protective of that area. Ask it first, Nari said. So Young, can you communicate with it? So Young nodded. I think so. The translation program is getting better. They returned to the bridge. So Young activated the communication system and began to sing. It was strange to hear a human voice trying to copy the dragon's cosmic song, but somehow it worked. The dragon stopped its own song and listened. Then it responded, its voice full of surprise and hope. What did you tell it? Nari asked. I asked if we could look deeper into the passage. I told it we want to understand so we can help. The dragon's song changed. It became less sad and more grateful. The massive creature moved aside, giving them a clearer view of the passage. Scanning now, Taemin said, the screen filled with new readings. The passage was deeper than they had thought. Much deeper. And the water inside wasn't just water. It was filled with things. Captain, Taemin said, his voice shaking. There are structures in there, buildings, entire cities. Nari looked at the scans. Through the thick, time-heavy water she could see shapes that looked like buildings, but they were unlike anything humans had ever built. They were made of crystal and light, beautiful and strange. Are they inhabited? She asked. I don't think so. The cities looked empty, like everyone left a long time ago. The dragon began to sing again, but this time So Young was ready. She had her translation program running. It's telling us a story, she said, about what happened to the cities. The dragon's song painted pictures in their minds. They saw the cities when they were alive, filled with beings of light and crystal. They saw great libraries where knowledge from across the universe was stored. They saw gardens where time itself grew like flowers. It was beautiful, So Young whispered, tears in her eyes. The dragon's song continued. It showed them visitors coming to the cities. Dark ships filled with creatures that wanted to take the knowledge for themselves. The dragon's people tried to share peacefully, but the visitors wanted everything. The devourers, So Young translated. That's what the dragon calls them. They came to devour knowledge and power. The song showed the war that followed. The dragon's people fought bravely, but they were outnumbered. The devourers were winning. So, what happened? Nari asked. The dragon's song became intense. It showed the final battle. The dragon's people made a terrible choice. Rather than let the devourers take the knowledge, they flooded their own dimension with liquid time. Everything precious was preserved, but it was also trapped. They drowned their own world, Timon said in amazement, to protect it? And they died doing it, So Young added. All of them except this one dragon. It stayed behind to guard the passage. Nari felt her heart break for the lonely creature. How long has it been alone? The dragon's answer came as a feeling rather than words. 50,000 years. It had been guarding the drowned passage for 50,000 years, waiting for someone worthy to help restore what was lost. But why us? Nari asked. Why humans? The dragon's song became hopeful. It showed them images of other species that had found the passage over the millennia. Some had tried to break in by force. Others had tried to bargain or trick the dragon. All had failed. Because we listened, So Young said, understanding. We didn't try to fight or steal. We tried to understand. The dragon confirmed this. It had been testing visitors for thousands of years, waiting for someone who showed not just intelligence, but wisdom. Someone who could be trusted with the responsibility of guardianship. What exactly would we have to do? Nari asked the dragons. Song became complex. It showed them the process of draining the passage. It would require people to become living conduits to channel the liquid time out of the drowned dimension. It was dangerous and would change them forever. Some of us would have to sacrifice our normal lives, Taemin said, to become something new. And if we succeed? Nari asked. The dragon showed them visions of the cities restored. Knowledge from 1,000 civilizations, freely shared, gardens where time grew like flowers. Art and science beyond human imagination, but more than that, it showed them something else. The dragon would finally be free. After 50,000 years of lonely guardianship, it could rest. It could join its people in whatever realm awaited beyond death. It's dying, So Young said softly. The dragon is dying. It's been using its life force to maintain the passage. It can't hold on much longer. Nari looked at the magnificent creature floating in the gas giant's atmosphere. It was old and tired and ready to rest. But it couldn't rest until it found someone to take its place. How long do we have to decide? She asked. The dragon's song was gentle but urgent. Days, maybe weeks. The passage was becoming unstable. Soon, the liquid time would begin to leak out. When that happened, the knowledge would be lost forever, and the dragon's 50,000 years of sacrifice would be for nothing. Nari looked at her crew. They were all thinking the same thing. This was bigger than any of them had imagined. They had come looking for an anomaly, but they had found a cosmic responsibility. We need to talk, she said, all of us, about what this means. The dragon's song followed them as they left the bridge. It was patient but hopeful. For the first time in 50,000 years, it had found someone who might understand the weight of its burden, but Nari knew the hardest part was still ahead. They had to decide if humanity was ready for such a responsibility, and they had to decide quickly. Nari couldn't sleep. She walked the quiet halls of her ship, thinking about the dragon's offer. Her crew was sleeping, but she knew they were all having the same thoughts. How could they make such a big decision? She found herself in the observation deck, looking out at the gas giant where the dragon waited. Even from this distance, she could hear its song. It was softer now, like a lullaby, but still full of sadness. Captain? Nari turned to see So Young entering the room. The young scientist looked tired but determined. I couldn't sleep either, So Young said. I keep thinking about what the dragon showed us. The cities? Nari asked. Everything. The knowledge, the beauty, the sacrifice. So Young sat down next to her captain. I've been working on the translation program. I think I can communicate with the dragon more clearly now. What do you want to ask it? Everything. I want to know exactly what we're being asked to do, and I want to know about the dragon's people. Who were they really? Nari nodded. Let's go to the bridge. Wake the others. Soon the whole crew was gathered. Taemin brought coffee for everyone. Junho sat quietly, checking his tablet. They all knew this conversation would change their lives. So Young, Nari said, asked the dragon to tell us more about its people. So Young activated the communication system. Her voice had gotten better at copying the dragon's cosmic song. She sang a question into space. The dragon's response was immediate and powerful. It began to tell them a story that was older than human civilization. They called themselves the Astral Shepherds, So Young translated. They were guardians of knowledge and wisdom across the galaxy. Images filled their minds. The dragon showed them its people in their prime. They were beautiful beings made of crystal and starlight, similar to the dragon but smaller. They could fly through space without ships, and they lived for thousands of years. They weren't conquerors, So Young continued. They were teachers. They traveled from world to world, sharing knowledge and helping young civilizations grow. Taemin leaned forward. What kind of knowledge? The dragon's song changed, showing them glimpses of incredible technology. Cities that floated in the air, machines that could heal any injury, ships that could travel between galaxies in seconds. But it wasn't just technology, So Young said. They shared art, music, philosophy. They helped species understand themselves and their place in the universe. Where did they keep all this knowledge? Nari asked. The dragon's song became proud. It showed them the greatest achievement of its people, the nexus of eternal streams. It was like a cosmic library, So Young translated. But more than that. It was a place where the greatest minds from across the galaxy could meet and share ideas. The images showed a realm of impossible beauty. Crystal spires that reached toward infinity. Gardens where thoughts grew like flowers. Rivers that flowed with liquid wisdom. Representatives from thousands of worlds came there, So Young continued. Scientists, artists, philosophers, teachers, they all contributed to the nexus. Junho spoke up. So what went wrong? The dragon's song became dark. It showed them the arrival of the Devourers, a species that consumed knowledge instead of sharing it. They came to the nexus not to learn, but to take everything for themselves. The astral shepherds tried to reason with them, So Young said. They offered to share the knowledge freely, as they always had, but the Devourers wanted more than knowledge. They wanted power. The dragon showed them the war that followed. The Devourers brought massive fleets to attack the nexus. The astral shepherds fought back, but they were peaceful beings. They weren't prepared for such violence. The war lasted for years, So Young translated. The astral shepherds were losing. The Devourers were going to take everything and use it to conquer the galaxy. So they flooded the nexus, Taemin said. Yes, but it was more complex than that. So Young listened carefully to the dragon's song. They didn't just flood it with water. They flooded it with time itself. They broke the barriers between past, present, and future. Nari tried to understand. What does that mean? It means the knowledge is preserved, but it's trapped in a time loop. Everything that was ever in the nexus is still there, but it's frozen in a moment between seconds. The dragon's song became mournful. It showed them the final battle. The astral shepherds knew they were going to die, but they made sure their sacrifice would protect the knowledge. They gave their life force to create the time flood, So Young said. All of them except this one dragon. It volunteered to stay behind and guard the passage. For 50,000 years, Nari said quietly. The dragon has a name, So Young added. It translates to Keeper of Final Songs. It was chosen because it had the strongest voice and the most determined heart. The dragon's song confirmed this. It had been young when it took on the responsibility. Now it was old and tired, but it had never stopped its vigil. What happens if we say no? Junho asked. The dragon's song became urgent. It showed them what would happen if the passage remained guarded by a dying guardian. The time flood was becoming unstable. Soon the liquid time would begin to leak out into normal space. If that happens, So Young said, the knowledge will be lost forever, and the time leaks could damage reality itself. And if we say yes? Nari asked. The dragon's song became hopeful. It showed them the process of draining the passage. Humans would need to become living conduits, their bodies and minds changed to channel temporal energy. It would be dangerous and irreversible. But if we succeed, So Young continued, we restore the nexus. We gain access to the knowledge of thousands of civilizations, and we become the new guardians. How many of us would need to change? Taemin asked. The dragon's answer was specific. At least 12 people would need to undergo the transformation. They would become something new, part human, part temporal being. They would live much longer than normal humans, but they would be bound to the nexus forever. It's not just about gaining knowledge, So Young said. We would be taking on the responsibility of sharing it wisely, of making sure it's never misused again. Nari looked at her crew. What do you think? It's incredible, Taimin said. The scientific advancement alone would change everything. For humanity, but it's also dangerous, Junho added. We don't know what the transformation would really do to us. So Young was quiet for a moment. Then she said, I keep thinking about the dragon. 50,000 years of loneliness. 50,000 years of standing guard over something precious. If we say no, all of that sacrifice means nothing. The dragon's song reached them again. This time it wasn't showing them visions or asking for decisions. It was simply singing about hope. For the first time in millennia, it had hope that its long vigil might end. There's something else, so Young said. The dragon isn't just offering us knowledge. It's offering us a chance to join something bigger than ourselves, to become part of a tradition that spans the galaxy. We understood? This wasn't just about humanity gaining power or knowledge. It was about humanity proving it could be trusted with something sacred. It was about becoming worthy of the dragon's 50,000 years of sacrifice. We need to vote, she said, all of us. But first, I want everyone to think carefully about what this means. Not just for us, but for all of humanity. The dragon's song continued as they prepared to make the most important decision in human history. The cosmic guardian waited patiently, as it had waited for 50,000 years. But now, for the first time, it had reason to hope. The crew of the Eternal Horizon spent 2 days thinking about the dragon's offer. Nari gave everyone time to consider what it would mean to volunteer for the transformation. She walked the ship's halls, talking to each crew member privately. I keep thinking about Earth, Taimin said when she visited him in the engine room. If we bring this knowledge back, we could solve every problem humanity has. No more hunger, no more disease, no more wars over resources. Nari nodded, but we would also change forever. We wouldn't be fully human anymore. Maybe that's not a bad thing, Taimin said quietly. Maybe humanity needs to evolve. In the medical bay, Dr. Park So-young was studying the biological scans. The dragon had shared. The transformation is incredible, Captain. The volunteers would live for thousands of years. They would be able to process information faster than any computer. They would become living bridges between dimensions. But what would we lose? Nari asked. So-young looked sad. Our old lives, our old connections. We would become something new, something that normal humans might not understand. In the security office, Junho was more direct. Captain, I'm worried about the risks. We don't know what could go wrong. What if the transformation fails? What if we're not strong enough to handle the power? And what if we are? Nari asked. Junho was quiet for a long time. Then he said, I joined this crew to protect humanity. If this knowledge could make us stronger, safer, better, then maybe the risk is worth it. On the third day, Nari called a meeting. All 23 crew members gathered in the main conference room. The dragon's song could be heard through the ship's hull, patient but urgent. We need to make a decision, Nari said. The dragon can't wait much longer. The passage is becoming more unstable every day. She looked around the room at faces she had known for years. These were good people, brave people who had left Earth to explore the unknown. Now they faced the biggest unknown of all. I want everyone to speak honestly, she said. What do you think we should do? Chief Engineer Taimin spoke first. I volunteer for the transformation. The knowledge we could gain would advance humanity by thousands of years. We could solve problems we don't even know we have yet. Dr. So-young nodded. I volunteer too. This is the greatest discovery in human history. We can't just walk away from it. Junho surprised everyone by raising his hand. I volunteer as well. I've been thinking about the dragon, alone for 50,000 years. If we can end that loneliness and protect something beautiful at the same time, we have to try. One by one, other crew members spoke up. Navigator Kim Minho volunteered, saying he wanted to help map the knowledge of the universe. Communications. Officer Li Deong said she wanted to learn the languages of 1,000 worlds, but not everyone agreed. I can't do it, said medical technician Yu Sung-ho. I have a family on Earth. I can't become something they wouldn't recognize. I understand, Nari said. No one is being forced to volunteer. In the end, 15 crew members volunteered for the transformation. More than enough to drain the passage and become its new guardians. But there's something else we need to discuss, Nari said. Who stays behind to take word back to Earth? Someone needs to tell humanity what we've found. I'll go, said Communications Officer Choi Haijin. Someone needs to prepare Earth for what's coming. They need to know that humans are now guardians of cosmic knowledge. Nari felt a weight settle on her shoulders. Are we making the right choice? Captain, So Young said, the dragon has been waiting 50,000 years for someone worthy. It chose us. Maybe we should trust its judgment. They returned to the bridge. Nari opened a communication channel to the dragon. We've made our decision, she said. 15 of us volunteer for the transformation. The dragon's song exploded with joy. For the first time since they had met it, the creature sounded truly happy. It sang of gratitude and hope and relief. When do we begin? Nari asked the dragons. Response was immediate. Now the passage was becoming too unstable to wait longer. How does it work? Taemin asked. The dragon began to show them the process. The volunteers would need to enter the passage one by one. The liquid time would change their bodies and minds, making them capable of channeling temporal energy. It would be painful and frightening, but the dragon would guide them through it. I'll go first, Nari said. Captain, maybe someone else should, Junho started. No, Nari said firmly. I'm the captain. I go first. The dragon moved aside, giving them clear access to the passage. Up close, it was even more beautiful and terrifying than before. The opening shimmered with colors that had no names. Through the liquid time, Nari could see the drowned cities waiting to be restored. Captain, So Young said, the dragon wants you to know something. The transformation isn't just physical. It will change how you think, how you feel. You'll still be you, but you'll be more than you, Nari nodded. She had expected that. Will I still care about humanity? The dragon's answer came not as words but as feeling. Yes, the transformation would make her care more, not less. She would become a bridge between humanity and the cosmos, helping her species grow into something greater. I'm ready, she said. Her crew gathered around her. These people had been her family for years. After the transformation, their relationship would change. She would live for thousands of years while they aged and died. But that sacrifice was part of the responsibility. Take care of each other, she told them. And remember why we're doing this. She turned toward the passage. The dragon's song grew softer, more gentle. It was encouraging her, supporting her. Nari took a step forward. The edge of the passage felt warm against her skin. The liquid time looked thick and silver, like mercury made of starlight. For humanity, she whispered. She stepped into the passage. The liquid time closed over her head like water. But it didn't feel wet. It felt alive. It pulsed around her with the heartbeat of the universe. She could feel time itself flowing through her, changing her. The transformation began. Pain shot through her body as her cells were restructured. But alongside the pain came knowledge. She could suddenly understand things that had been mysteries before. She could feel the flow of time like a river around her. Through the liquid time, she could see the drowned cities more clearly. They were beautiful beyond description. Libraries that held the wisdom of ages. Gardens where thoughts bloomed like flowers. Art galleries where music had been given visible form, and everywhere, the presence of those who had died to protect this place. The astral shepherds hadn't truly died. They had become part of the nexus itself, their consciousness preserved in the liquid time. Nari felt them welcoming her. She was no longer just human. She was becoming something new, something that could bridge the gap between species and dimensions. The dragon's song reached her even through the liquid time. It was singing of gratitude and relief. After 50,000 years, it was no longer alone. One by one, her crew members joined her in the passage. Taemin came next, then So Young, then Jun-ho. Each transformation was unique, but all of them shared the same sense of expansion, of becoming more than they had been. As the 15th volunteer entered the passage, Nari felt the liquid time begin to drain. The process had begun. Soon, the drowned cities would be restored, and humanity would take its place as guardians of cosmic knowledge. But first, they had to complete the most difficult part of the transformation. They had to learn to become bridges between the human and the divine. The transformation was like being born again. Nari felt her body changing, becoming stronger and lighter at the same time. Her mind expanded, able to process thoughts and feelings that would have overwhelmed her human brain. Through the liquid time, she could see her crew members changing too. Taemin's hands glowed with the ability to touch and repair time itself. So Young's eyes shimmered with the power to understand any language in the universe. Jun-ho's body radiated protective energy that could shield entire worlds, but the most amazing change was in their hearts. They could feel each other's thoughts and emotions. They were becoming connected, like parts of a single cosmic mind while still remaining individuals. "Can you hear me?" Nari thought. "Yes, Captain," came the voices of her crew, speaking directly into her mind. "We can all hear each other." The dragon's song surrounded them, guiding them through the transformation. It was teaching them how to use their new abilities, how to channel the liquid time safely. "Now," the dragon sang, "begin the draining." Nari and her team joined hands in a circle within the liquid time. Together, they began to pull the temporal energy out of the drowned dimension. It was like drinking from a river of pure knowledge. An emotion as the liquid time flowed through them. Nari saw everything that had been preserved in the Nexus. She saw the dreams of scientists from 1,000 worlds. She felt the love of artists who had painted with starlight. She experienced the wisdom of philosophers who had pondered the meaning of existence for millions of years. But it wasn't just knowledge. Each drop of liquid time contained the final thoughts and feelings of those who had died to protect this place. Nari felt their hopes, their fears, their love for their children and their worlds. "Oh," she whispered, tears flowing down her face. They were all so beautiful. The liquid time carried the essence of billions of beings. Not just the astral shepherds, but representatives from every species that had ever contributed to the Nexus. They had all died knowing their sacrifice would preserve something precious for future generations. "Captain," So Young's voice came through their mental link, "Look." Nari opened her eyes and saw the drowned cities beginning to emerge from the liquid time. As the temporal water drained away, the crystal spires started to glow with their own light. Gardens began to bloom with flowers made of pure thought. Libraries opened their doors to reveal books, written in languages of light and music. The Nexus was being restored, but as the last of the liquid time drained away, something else happened. Ghostly figures began to appear throughout the cities. The spirits of the astral shepherds and all the other guardians who had died to protect this place, they weren't fully alive, but they weren't gone either. They had become part of the Nexus itself, eternal guardians who could finally rest knowing their sacrifice had meaning. "Thank you," the spirits sang in voices like wind chimes. "Thank you for finishing what we started." The dragon's song reached a crescendo as it watched the restoration. For 50,000 years it had carried the weight of protecting this place alone. Now, finally, it could rest. "My vigil is complete," the dragon sang, its voice full of peace. Nari felt the great creature's life force beginning to fade. The dragon had used everything it had to maintain the passage for so long. Now that the Nexus was restored and had new guardians, it could finally join its people in the afterlife. "Wait," Nari called out. "Don't go yet." The dragon turned its ancient eyes toward her. "Why do you ask me to stay, young guardian?" "Because you're not just a guardian," Nari said, her voice breaking with emotion. "You're family. You've been alone for so long. Don't you want to see what we do with this gift you've protected?" The dragon's song became softer, more thoughtful. I am tired, little human. I have been tired for a very long time. Then rest, Nari said, but rest here, with us. Let us take care of you the way you took care of the Nexus. The dragon was quiet for a long moment. Then slowly it began to smile. Perhaps I could stay a little longer, to see how humanity grows into its new role. The great creature settled into the gas giant's atmosphere, its song becoming peaceful for the first time in millennia. It was no longer alone. Nari and her transformed crew began to explore the restored Nexus. The knowledge contained there was beyond imagination. Sciences that could heal entire planets. Art forms that could paint with time itself. Philosophies that explained the deepest mysteries of existence. But more than knowledge, they found wisdom. The Nexus contained the accumulated understanding of billions of beings about how to live well, how to treat others with kindness, how to use power responsibly. This is what the dragon was really protecting, Taemin said. Not just information, but wisdom. The knowledge of how to be good, Nari nodded. She understood now why the dragon had waited so long for the right guardians. This knowledge could be used for great good or terrible evil. It required guardians who would share it wisely and protect it from those who would misuse it. Through their mental link, she could feel her crew members making the same realization. They weren't just librarians or teachers. They were the guardians of the moral foundation of the galaxy. Captain, Junho said, the other crew members are trying to contact us. Nari reached out with her new abilities and connected to the eternal horizon. She could sense the 8 crew members who had remained human, waiting anxiously to hear from their transformed friends. We're here, she said, her voice reaching them through their ship's communication system. We're different, but we're still... UCA's Captain? It was Communications Officer Choi Haijin. Did it work? Is the Nexus restored? Yes, Nari said, looking out at the crystal cities glowing with renewed life. It's beautiful beyond description. And now we need to prepare humanity. For what comes next? What do you mean? We're going to share this knowledge with Earth, Nari said. But carefully, wisely. We'll start with solutions to humanity's biggest problems: clean energy, disease cures, food production. Then, as humanity proves it can handle the responsibility, we'll share more. And us? Haijin asked. What happens to those of us who stayed human? Neri felt tears flowing down her face again, but they weren't tears of sadness. They were tears of joy and hope and overwhelming love for her species and her friends. You become our connection to humanity, she said. You help us remember what it means to be human. You make sure we never forget where we came from. The dragon's song surrounded them, peaceful and content. The ghostly spirits of the ancient guardians sang along, their voices joining in harmony. For the first time in 50,000 years, the Nexus was alive with hope instead of sorrow. Nari looked out at the restored cities and felt the weight of cosmic responsibility settle on her shoulders. But it didn't feel heavy. It felt like purpose. Humanity had proven itself worthy of the greatest trust in the galaxy. They had become the guardians of wisdom itself. And as Nari watched the first human children playing in gardens where thoughts bloomed like flowers, she knew they would prove worthy of that trust for generations to come. The dragon's final song was one of perfect peace. It had found its successors. The vigil would continue, but it would no longer be a vigil of loneliness and loss. It would be a vigil of hope. Nari wiped the tears from her eyes and smiled. They were tears of stars now, each one containing the light of 1,000 worlds. And, in that light, she could see the future of humanity shining bright and beautiful among the cosmos. The long watch had ended. The new age had begun.